Thousands of people have traveled hours to witness just a few minutes. We just went through the totality phase of the eclipse and you can just feel it. The excitement is sky high. Lollapalooza is taking the city by storm once again this Thursday through Sunday. But what about the roads? We'll have all the details about the closures you need to avoid coming up next. Last year there were 8 homicides here in Lawrence, the most in the past 5 years. The mayor tells us now that she has a new safety plan coming into action that'll actually give community members a seat at the table to hopefully redefine the future of this city. Seems like AI is finding its way into everything these days, even right here in Hamilton County, where for the first time ever, it's being used to more effectively map out the area. A teenager is facing charges after last month's mass shooting that injured 7 children in downtown Indianapolis. The suspect told police that he wasn't aiming at anyone in particular when he started shooting a handgun that he received from his friend just earlier that night. Not just lions, tigers, and bears. Today is all about the giraffes here at Brookfield Zoo. It's World Giraffe Day, and we're celebrating in a couple of big ways. It's been less than a week since IMPD say a toddler fatally shot himself in the head with a gun he found in his mom's purse. It's yet to be seen if charges will be filed in that case, but if so, it could follow a trend of other criminal cases pending against adults charged with being responsible for the kids in their care. 4 times in the last year, the Marion County prosecutor filed neglect of dependent charges against adults whose guns ended up in the hands of children who shot themselves. 3 of those children died.
For the neglect of that parent, that child would still be alive. And so somebody needs to be held accountable for that neglect.
Most recently, a mother was charged last week after her 7-year-old shot himself in the stomach.
Children don't know the difference between a toy gun and a real gun. They really don't.
At the State House this year, a proposed bill tried to establish a low-level felony for anybody who doesn't secure a loaded firearm in the presence of children in which it was used to shoot somebody. It failed without a hearing.
Nobody is being held accountable. And this piece of legislation is very sensible. If you're the adult in the home, just as we ask you to lock up toxins and poisons and your medicine cabinets, we're asking you to lock up your firearm.
In the Noblesville West Middle School shooting of 2018, the guns the teenager took to school were locked up in a safe in his parents' home, but the keys were still hanging in the lock.
As a defense attorney, I would look to make sure that my client had done steps such as educating the child, the dangers of having a gun, and then what proper mechanisms and procedures they took to make sure that gun was secure.
Police say the boy's mother, now charged with 3 counts of neglect, had been ordered by the Department of Child Services in 2020 to secure the guns in her house away from her children. Police say she didn't do it. In the past, prosecutors say they were reluctant to press criminal charges against a family member struggling with the grief of a child's death.
It's probably the most unimaginable grief. I can't imagine it's a grief you ever heal from.
There is a responsibility that comes with the right to bear arms, and that is to make sure that you keep your gun safe and secure. And so as such, we need to make sure that parents are held accountable when they're not doing that.
In the case of the 7-year-old who shot himself in the stomach, police found 6 additional firearms in that home. As it stands now, there is no provision to remove additional firearms from a home besides the one involved in the shooting. This means it's ultimately in the hands of the adults to keep these kids safe in houses where firearms are present. This machine behind me is just one of almost 250 steps that turns this into this. This is a Cadence tablet, and for the upcoming eclipse 2 months away, it'll use a dynamic braille reader to give blind and visually impaired students the chance to experience the spectacle. The Indianapolis Motor Speedway is expected to have over 20,000 people on their track to watch the total solar eclipse, and that'll now include students from one specific Indiana school.
The Indiana School of Blind is going to come out with 2 Indiana companies that are Purdue grads that are going to allow folks who are visually impaired to actually see the eclipse or experience the eclipse really real time.
Students and others with visual impairments will be given one of these, a Cadence tablet that uses a series of over 300 dots to track the eclipse.
People have been trying to do a device like this for decades, and we think we finally cracked it.
Tactile Engineering and Near Space Education have partnered up to make the opportunity available. The team will collect data from balloons launched into space and then send that right back down to Earth.
The balloons themselves go and transmit the data they're collecting in the atmosphere: temperature, pressure, UV radiation, atmospheric levels, movement, live through a satellite connection to a computer From that computer, that data gets sent to the Cadence tablet, which is displaying that data live.
The tablets are so complex that it takes a full day just to make 2. By April, they're hoping to have at least 50 ready to go.
In years past, these students normally only either deal with data from a figurative perspective or it's just stagnant, nothing that's dynamic and changing in front of their eyes.
But that all changes now. Lau and Pearson say they're working to level the playing field by giving blind and visually impaired people the tools to see a new reality.
It feels wonderful. It feels great to be able to get to this point where an event like the Eclipse, an event like the races at the Speedway are going to be accessible to blind people, people who've only ever been able to access them just by hearing or just by description.
More information on how to access this tablet will be available on our website.